All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Healthcare Marketing Executive Podcast. We're joining you live from Health 2025, and I'm here with another great leader in healthcare who I can't wait to introduce you to. So actually, you know what? I'll hand it over to you. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for having me on, Alexis. And I'm Zach Zobel. I'm a senior director with Sober Sidekick. For those listening that have not heard of Sober Sidekick, we are a relapse prediction and prevention company. So we serve members who are on their own personal journeys of recovery. And we're super excited about a recent milestone we had of reaching 1 million users on our platform.
My gosh.
Which is just fantastic. We're out here at Health this year and we're back at the SUD Pavilion. I think it's the first year that Health has had specifically an SUD spot for a bunch of vendors. So we've been having some really great conversations with like-minded organizations that are really trying to solve the needs of SUD. So I'm excited to see that pavilion space maybe expand out a little bit more in the future.
I'm so inspired by what your team is doing because so many folks in healthcare, I hear them talking about how do we engage consumers? How do we engage consumers? But often I think the consumer they're talking about is the predictable sort of like high earning consumer, someone who can afford these products or someone who has that buying power. I'm so impressed by what your organization is doing because it's this targeted engagement with a group of consumers that is known for being a little bit harder to reach and, you know, building trust. But I wonder if you just want to share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, you know, we went on this journey over the last 12 months or so. We partnered with a health plan, Medicaid plan, to really help bring access to these members. And you're right, the Medicaid population is often the most overlooked, underserved population, and historically pretty difficult to engage with. But what we've learned through almost 2 million outreaches over the last 12 months is that these members really have been forgotten about. And when we can get them re-engaged with their health, they're so excited about it. They're so grateful for the ability to have an access point back into their health plan. And we can help them navigate all the benefits that they're entitled to and should have access to.
I love that. And so for the audience who's listening, you know that we like to talk to communications leads, marketing leads, because you're tasked with engaging consumers. But you don't often get the spotlight and kind of get to give your own kind of point of view. Marketers are always sort of like giving things over to sales and, you know, these other folks. But I'm sort of curious to get your sort of thought leadership, your point of view take on health overall so far, and any trends you're seeing that you think will shape 2026 based on what you know and have seen?
Yeah, great question. And I have to be perfectly transparent. I'm a product person. So I have infiltrated the marketing podcast. But there's just so much overlap between marketing and product. We're both obsessed with the end customer. And sometimes marketing is maybe a little bit more upstream of focused on clients and product is really focused on that end user. But there's so much overlap and there's even a product marketing role. But yeah, I mean, being at Health, it's overwhelming. There's so many different vendors here, but so much enthusiasm. I mean, everyone's got an AI solution.
Everyone has AI.
We were very excited this summer. We took like 5 years of peer specialist content. So peer specialists for those in substance use disorder recovery. It's kind of a one-on-one coach who's lived that experience and can help you through different instances. But we were so excited with ourselves. If we took all this peer specialist content we had built out and we put it into our LLM and we made it available for our users to interact with. And we're like, oh, this is a huge moment. And then you get out to Health and everyone's got an LLM, everyone's got AI. So I think it's really all about looking at your organization and seeing what makes sense to implement and test. And we are all about A/B testing, really quick feedback loops on what's working and what's not working. But yeah, for 26, I do have a big prediction.
Ready?
I think if you look at the last 12 months with LLM models, you know, think of ChatGPT, they've evolved so much just in a short amount of time. And I think video generation, so like prompted video generation, I think it's still really in its infancy. And I think over the next 12 months, we're going to see a very similar evolution.
In terms of like the advertisements that companies are putting out being fully AI generated.
100%. So I think as a marketer, you just have to think about all of the LLM tools that are available as just that. They're tools and you should try and experiment with a bunch of them and see what works for your organization.
Totally. I'm actually kind of curious on that front. Is that something that sort of like excites you that these AI videos are going to come out? Or do you have like a dose of fear? Like, where are you sort of landing on that spectrum? Because I do think you're right. I've already seen them on my TikTok and things like that. And it takes me a minute to notice that it's AI in some instances.
Yeah, so that's something, with our platform of 1 million users, they're generating tons of content on our platform. And so we've been thinking through, well, how can we maybe inject some more content or almost like a discover feed? And what we noticed is there's some sentiment differences between someone's first person video that they've generated and the reactions to that versus some of these AI videos. I think that gap's going to close.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, it's sometimes really hard to know what's AI generating, what's not.
True. And I think, one of the other things I think about on that front is like, I'm a visual learner. That's why I struggle with IKEA directions, in all fairness, translating like a standalone thing that doesn't have like a visual audio kind of. So I'm really excited from a healthcare point of view that these videos are going to be something that hopefully makes healthcare easier to understand and humanizes a little bit.
Absolutely.
But yeah, one of the things I did want to ask you about, so the other night we were talking about segmentation and personas. I thought you had a really interesting take there. And I just wondered if you wanted to kind of share, because I think where I'm going with this is this use of videos, there's also this opportunity for personalization. But tell me your point of view.
Yeah, I love that. So like I said, we have 1 million users on our platform. And so for us, it's really trying to understand how are our users finding us and coming into our platform. And so we went on this journey of building out personas really to serve them. And we took a data-driven approach. So we clustered our data in data science terms and looked at kind of the behavioral patterns. But then I think a huge thing that every marketer can do is to contextualize, who are you trying to build a persona for, especially it's a buying persona. So that's what we did is we contextualized, hey, our users are on their recovery journeys.
Yeah.
And so we really built out like 8 distinct user personas. And we're now using these personas to help us drive our product roadmap. So
I love that.
60% of the users that find our app are in their first 7 days of sobriety.
Wow.
So it's a very early momentum building
feel vulnerable.
persona. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
So we want to try to wrap around all the support and feed them a bunch of positive content right away to kind of get them started on their journey.
How cool. Yeah. Another thing I mentioned to Zach the other day when I bumped into him was, I'm so moved by your organization's mission as well, just because I think it's something that everyone in the US and maybe even internationally, but particularly in the US, everyone either knows someone or knows someone who's been impacted by this desire to be sober. It's really, really interesting to see that ability to personalize and tailor, because not everyone who's dealing with a sobriety issue is the same and has the same motivations for getting sober. Yeah. So that's really, really, really cool.
Yeah, we have another persona. We call it our silent watcher.
Okay.
So think of how 80% of people interact with social media platforms.
We're all lurkers.
Yeah, exactly. You're not generating the content, but you're consuming it. And we have that exact persona in our platform.
Okay.
So we're trying to tailor their experience and help them kind of discover more areas and help them consume more educational content on the journey.
Is there a desire with them at all? Like the call to action, is it to help them start engaging more? Or are you okay with them being kind of the watchers?
I think we are perfectly fine with them being watchers. We've nudged them in different directions and sometimes they're not going to lean in, and let's not beat our heads against the wall of a behavioral pattern. We're not going to shift and instead embrace and build a better experience for them.
That's great. It reminds me of a buzzword I hear a lot in healthcare on meeting consumers where they are. And that feels like a really good example of that. Like meeting the watchers and not needing to change them into anything other than what they feel comfortable being on an app or a platform. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so I know health is crazy, so I'll have to let you go soon. I'm sure you have 1 million places you need to be before the event wraps up. But one of the questions I wanted to ask you before I let you go is, do you have any piece of advice for people who are going into product marketing? Everything's changing so quickly, but advice you'd give to others?
Yeah, absolutely. I can share my own personal experience coming into a new organization at Sober Sidekick. One of the first things I wanted to do is understand what are all the data assets that we have in place today.
Yeah.
So before we go invest in implementing something new or needing to build something new out, let's look at all the low-hanging fruit areas of data that we already have available today. Yeah. And that's true for every organization. Every organization is sitting on mountains of data that they've not unlocked any insights from. So I think that's a great piece of advice is take inventory within your organization of what data assets do you have today that just have not been unlocked from an insights perspective, and then build on top of that for new enrichments.
That is such a golden piece of advice, because when I talk to a lot of leaders in healthcare marketing, healthcare product marketing, there's this effort to, go externally and always get the latest and greatest data, but generate new. And it is such a good piece of advice on sort of like triaging what you already have, doing a scan on secondary research, seeing what other things might be out there that you could, bring into what you have, and then supplementing with smart, qualitative, quantitative. Yeah. That's great. Okay, and last question for you. Is there anything you want to give a shout out or promo to, like anything you want to market and have the audience be aware of?
Yeah, absolutely. We're super excited about some upcoming campaigns that we have going live in market. So for us on our platform, we know that the holidays can be a really tough time for those that are in recovery.
Yeah.
And we see an uptick in self-reported relapses on our platform during the holidays. So we're rolling out a campaign that's called Support Doesn't Take a Holiday.
Oh, that's great.
Across several of our states with our users. And so we're really wanting that message to catch on. So if you know a loved one or know someone during that holiday season that might be struggling, you can always tell them to download Sober Sidekick, but we should look out for our fellow humans and pick them up where we can.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Zach. And everyone here listening, thank you so much for being part of this episode. Really check out Sober Sidekick. Keep an eye out for that holiday campaign, and we'll see you for the next one. Thanks.
Thanks.